Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmas, Bini Maryles, Mordechai. Hayoim, Chamisho, Shleishim, Yoim, Sheim, Chamisho, Shavuos, Boimer, Loimer, sponsored Lili Nishmas, the 12-year-old girl, Zechariah Leah Shalom Bas, Yibodl Chaim, Reb Dovid. Rabbi Sai, there's an attorney by the name of Michael Citron, not related to Yaakov Citron, who together they got Nissim Black to put together a song for MDY, which is coming out after Shavuos. But I want to show you a little bit of a trailer. A lot of it was filmed here in the Beis Medrash. It's about MDY, about the Zog that we have. And here goes. It's a tremendous thing. I had no idea that they're doing this. Michael Citron, the lawyer, as Akar Satoiv to MDY, he put this together. It's not an easy thing and it's not a cheap thing. And here goes. And Yaakov Citron did a phenomenal. I saw the final product, and here's a little bit of a taste.
They ask if I'm up on the Daf. I answer the 7 and 9. And then when I want to walk off, I start to look at my watch. Never get down on yourself, yeah. And don't put your goals on the shelf, yeah. No matter how low you feel.
That's Michael.
Take it and make it a hill. Climb all the way to the peak, yeah. I know the sugar is deep, yeah. But as rebellion repeats.
It's to get that gender in here, not that genre. I mean, this I said already. This we said already. I've been waiting to read this email for a good few days. It's a really, really powerful email, and this is why we're here today. Dear Eli Stefansky, I want to thank you. Because of you, my father, Koppy Maryles Yaakov Koppel ben Dovid bracha, who's turning 80 today. Today is his birthday, and for whom my family and I are sponsoring today's daf, learns the daf. Because of you and the world of MDY, my father has a daily appointment with Gemara like at no other time in his life. Because of you, there's a good chance in the near future that he'll make a siyum hashas of his own. So thank you. If I may, let me tell you a bit about his learning of the daf. I know there are many 80-year-olds who learn the daf and much more each day, but how many start at the tender age of 76? How many start after quadruple bypass? How many start after many decades of never having been formally part of a daf or regular Gemara shir? How many are inspired and aiding by their wife to start? How many sit and ponder the ins and outs, the difficulties of Yivamis and Baba Kama, Agadah that are indecipherable? I imagine the number is far smaller. That's my father today, inspiring. I thank you specifically because it was a challenge that you issued around the time when the daf was starting Masechtas Rosh Hashanah, that anyone who signed up would receive a free Gemara. I know you'd made that offer before and certainly since. I imagine my parents had seen it before, but for whatever reason, this time it took. It was the middle of COVID, and what's a person to do to keep their mind sharp, to stay busy and to avoid crowds? So my mother signed them up, and away he went. Anyway, my father has always loved to learn, though if I recall correctly, it's almost always Tanakh. Gemara seemed a different story. It would sometimes help us when we were in school, as we try to study for Gemara tests, working our way through the old Cincino. But I wouldn't say that Gemara was his area of his expertise or strength. We go to Rabbi Shir sometimes, the daf before, after million others on occasion, but Gemara wasn't the thing for him. It was always Tanakh in Israel, and now it's Tanakh Israel, Shnai Mikra. I wonder where he got that from. Every book he can get his hands on, and the daf. It's inspiring and straight up impressive. Hat tip, by the way, to my mother, who is his partner in crime and his efforts. She sets up the Gemara and the YouTube link for him each time. Here's the picture of Bini Maryles, who sent it in. It's every day for them, either right before or right after dinner, like clockwork. When I'm visiting with them, I know in advance to plan around the daf. It's an anchor in their day. They all are stressed as Masi Shabbos comes along because it's later and the timing, etc., etc., but they get it done. Again, not something I would have expected or had on my bingo card for them at this stage, but who actually ever really knows? So today, join me in the math. He's completed 13 and a half mesechtas, nearly 1,000 daf, and hundreds upon hundreds of hours in study with you and the share each and every day. We are super proud of him and look forward, Hashem willing, to his siyum hashas in a few years down the road. for his 80th, while he may just want a hot dog and fries to celebrate, certainly not what his cardiologist or wife wants him to have, if you could give him a happy birthday, a shekoyach, a bracha for continued health and continued growth, admeya ve'esrim, would mean a lot. You want to take it from here? Yeah.
Happy birthday
To you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear
Father of it.
Bini. Happy birthday to you. Unbelievable. Super, super inspiring. You should be Zaycha to finish Shas 5 times over. We want him to know how proud we are of what he's accomplished and look forward to more. Thanks so much and continue bracha v'atzlacha to you and the chevra, Bini Maryles. Unbelievable. People are always proud of their parents when they do the daf. That's what you don't have. So from great news to a little bit of very sad news, but I thought this was very inspiring. This is a soldier that was killed the other day from Netzach Yehuda. That's the Haredi. It was Betzalel Tzvikovitz. My nephew is in that Netzach Yehuda. He's actually he's trained to be in Fakir, I think, or whatever. So, but this was at his grave. And if you listen to the Havara, if there's a Saf or a Tuf, listen to this. And what song they picked, I thought it was pretty emotional. Is at his grave on Har Menuchas. Kids are very, very sad. His neshama should have an aliya. He actually lived in the same place that my father was a rav in, Ramot Daled. Ramot Daled. Wishing a huge mazel tov to our MDY Toronto rep, Aryeh Blau. I don't know what I called him last time. I was talking about it. I made up a name. And family on the engagement of his daughter Tova Tajashi Toledano. Vort invitation attached. Wishing everyone only simchas. Mayor Planko and Aryeh Blau, the 2 reps from Toronto. So tremendous mazel tov. Now there is a big elephant in the room that I need to address. You know what? I'll just show you. I forgot to erase some of the bad language here. But if you look, just notice from the status that Rebelli has a new rimmed koppel. What the is going on, he says. Might have to unsubscribe. It's not what I signed on for. I'm not sure I'll be able to finish today's daf under these new circumstances. Listen, for Bittul Torah, I took it off. I'm back. The truth is I was only wearing it to push Benny's button. He's like, you look like he started each time he just got out of jail. I don't know. In yeshiva, they said it's really for Israelis, but I'll have to explain for those who doesn't. They said if you wear a yarmulke that has everybody used to wear yarmulkes that have a seret, that rim. They said if you wear a yarmulke without a seret, then you'll go to a seret, which is a movie without a yarmulke. So that's why I wore it. Im telech, im kippah, bili seret, basof telech l'seret, bili kippah.
Don't say you weren't born.
Dear Rebelli, sorry for the lack of emails lately. Been busy making sawdust. These Shabbatons don't pay for themselves, says Shimi Leifman. He had to make some stenders to pay for the Shabbaton. Please see attached screenshots of messages I've had your Talmidim It's unbelievable. Nobody cares about the learning. They care about the koppel. And that's exactly why I wore it. I don't care. I'm looking for another one. We'll go with I think the one without felt is better. We'll try that. That also. You know what? I used to wear sruga. I used to. You know why? Because my father was a Rebbe in Shar Yashuv. And Rabbi Freifeld, Zechroinu Levrach's wife, the Rebbetzin, she made me knitted yarmulke, kippah sruga. So I wore it for a month, whatever it was, as a 5-year-old. So I'm a srugi. Betzem, I'm a srugi. That's why I understand everybody. Ooh. Anyways, please see attached screenshots and messages I've had. Your Talmidim are concerned about the new rimmed koppel, and they think next will be a frak. I was finally proud to tell people my Maggid Shir has a beard. Oh well. Kol Tov, Shimi Liefman. A guy last night, a Hasidic guy, comes over to me after the shir, goes, "You're not going to believe, I didn't know who you are. You walked in here, I didn't recognize you. I started the shir when you had a beard. It's kind of bait and switch." I said, "Yeah, knew you're in." He goes, "Yeah, I'll stick around." He didn't recognize me. Fine. I think we got to start shir already. Fine, let's start shir. We'll skip these. The Meiletz sponsored by anonymous with the 7 speedy return for all the hostages. May this daf be in the merit of refuah shelayma for Lana Devorah bas Hadassah Leah of Baltimore, a mother who was in critical condition after having her 5th child. She should have a refuah shelayma. By Bini Maryles, happy birthday to my father, Koppy Maryles. It's going to be one of the most memorable emails that a person started doing the daf at 76 years old, and he's 1,000 daf in at the age of 80. Who's turning 80 today. Yosher and a bracha for continued health and continued growth. Admei by Mordechai Sapoznick, Lzaicher Nishmas, my grandfather, Yisroel Aryeh Sapoznick, Yisroel Aryeh ben R Avrohom Yeshayahu, Zechariah Levrachah, may his neshama have an aliya, may he be a meiletz yosher for his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and the entire mishpacha and all of Klal Yisroel. Interesting, because his name is the same, Avrohom Yeshayahu, but it cannot be that he was named after the Chazon Ish. He lived before that. The Reuben family, the yard side of Yonis Mordechai ben Elisha Tzadik Halevi. Hatzlacha Parnas Hayoim. Hatzlacha b'chol hanyonim. This person paid $250 to say Hatzlacha b'chol hanyonim, so I'll say it twice. By Gary ben Moshe. You should know Gary. When I read it, I choked up. Nishmas Dovid Dvaira Basra ben Yomen Zechroina Levracha. What today? Something special? Tell me later. But who was it that this Shabbos people were talking about her because she, again, I'm going to say the Maisa again. They repeated the story. What? Gary's mother. Gary was sitting in the booth right now. Gary's son, that we all know, comes here to daven. When he was a kid, Gary's mother bought brand new furniture. They never buy furniture. Very simple. They bought brand new. The first day in, Gary's son took a knife and cut the chair open. And Gary's wife went a little meshuggah. She grabbed the kid. Ah! She said, "It's just a chair. It's just a chair." Anyway, we have to learn a lot from that. Parnas Hayoim, 6th one. By Nasan Poitmikin, something like that. Pei Vav Tes. Now this is in Hebrew and I can't read it. Poitminkin. Potamkin maybe. Pei Vav Tes Yud Vav Mem Kuf Yud. Potamkin. What? Oh, that's better. Potyumkin. Lili Nishmas, my father, Elio ben Baruch. Rabbi Zai, by Peretz Chaim and Zahava Levin, in honor of our new Golden Dove grandson. Mazel Tov his parents, Menachem Tzipi Shur, and the entire Levin and Shur families. Shetisku, Bris Milo, Bismano, the Torah, L'chupa, L'masim, Toivim. Yeah, hold on. And here's Peretz Chaim Levin from Daf Peiches. Somebody sent me this email. He said, look at the editing. And that was Peretz Chaim Levin's daf. Peiches, just 2 daf ago. And here he is, Peretz Chaim himself. Very good. Yosef, very good. That's you? Ariel. Very nice. Okay, who's our guest over there hiding? Oh, here we go. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Isaac Safir. You were here before? Of course I remember. From where? Farag. Shalom Aleichem. You? Yaakov? Shehin. From? Toronto. You know the Plancos and the Blaus?
Mayor was my neighbor for many years.
Wow. Okay.
Eli, I wrote Black-MDY together for many years.
Oh, really?
Black-MDY.
So do you still do bike for chai? You know, I was on the first bike for chai thing ever in Lake Tahoe. Yeah. Me and Louis Cohen, we rode bike for chai, the first one. Oh yeah, we have a daf to do today. Rabbi, so let's go. Before we start, I have 3 questions for the Olam. Gewaltige questions. Is there a yisr of lifnei iver loisite michshal, the yisr to have a guy stumble on a avera? Let's say it's also for him to do shev mitzvahs b'nei noyach. Is it also for you to have him stumble in those averas? Or even more, let's say you have an avera and you want him to help you out for your avera. He should do the avera for you. Is there a problem with that? Anybody? You want to guess?
Yes.
You say yes. Yes? Okay, that's question number 1. Question number 2, this one please don't answer. Raise your hand if you know this. I was surprised to see how many people knew it last night. What does the word shvus mean? Shvus. Does anybody know what that is? Raise your hand if you know what it is. But if I'm going to ask you, if you raise your hand, I'm going to ask you. Okay, a lot of hands went down. What does it mean?
What's in rabbinical?
Good, very good. Yes. Shvus. The word shvut. Shvut. In Hebrew, I said shvus and nobody raised their hand. I said shvut. 3 people raised their hand. Okay, it was good. But not enough. And finally, does anybody have a heter? Could anybody come up with a heter to neuter your pet? Is it mutter to neuter your dog? You say no problem. What? Oh, give it to the guy. It's a deraisa. Yeah? Yeah.
Not for you. You can.
Both maybe. Certainly for you. Everybody does. So everybody does an isser because they don't go to the daf. It's a isser deraisa to have your dog neutered. And even if you give it to the guy, so selling, but nobody's matter that. There's no rav. I want somebody to come here and tell me a heter that they have to neuter a dog. I haven't found a single rav in the mainstream rabbanim that say that. Fine, I don't know. Maybe some lady somewhere. Later. Okay, Taner Rabbanan. Big chiddush, right?
No.
He's shaking his head from Farakwe. Our man from Farakwe, Chayv Layla. We'll do this sugi and we'll see. If you can come up with something else, we'll see. Taner Rabbanan. Rabbi said we're talking about muzzling your animal while he works for you. To muzzle your animal as he's threshing the grain. There are, however, 2 exceptions to the rule. Here's one exception. If the wheat was already threshed, the barley was already threshed, and now you soak it in water and you dry it, so you already have a gemar malacha. This is a chiddush, right? You think that why can't you muzzle your animal? Because it's not nice. He's there. He wants to eat. Over here you have a situation where it's after the gemar malacha, it's done. You're already in step 14 where you dried it and now you want to do another step of threshing. It's mutter to put a muzzle on the animal. They're trampling on the tfuah. Another halacha number 2. If the grain is already truma and meiser, we're going to talk more about what is truma, what is meiser. But for now, these are the parts, the food, the produce that you give to a kohen or a levi. Truma is what you give the kohen. Meiser is what you give the levi. It says in the pasuk, "Leisachsim shar b'dishay," your grain, not grain that belongs to the kohen, not grain that belongs to the levi. So, truma meiser, your potter, you could put a muzzle on. Interesting. It's the same food, but it's not yours. You're allowed to put a muzzle on. Avol mipnei marisayin. So people don't think that you're sinning, that you're doing an avera. Maybe bull. You take a fistful, says Rashi. Here we have a beautiful picture. You take like a pail, hang it by its mouth, and you put food in there. So on the one hand, the animal is eating the food. And guess what? If the animal tries to eat your food on the floor, it won't be able to. There'll be a pail stuck, like preventing it from eating. So it's a chasima, but you're giving it to eat. It seems like from the Rishonim that if you put enough food in there, 4 kav for a cow of food, then in any situation you could avoid the whole loisachsim. Give it another food, you give it some sort of thing. But this is a case where you're potter, so you put some food in there. Reb Shimon bar Yochai Omer, 2 days after Lag BaOmer, maybe karshinim v'toilala, shakarshinim yafisla minakol. You could take karshinim, this is karshinim maybe, as just l'saber, sa'ayin, I don't know if this is exactly it, something like, you take vetch. I actually looked up on Google, I said cows eat vetch, and it says it's excellent, it has tremendous amount of benefits for the cow, it has protein, I don't know what, vitamins, who knows. The Gemara knew about that also. Karshinim are good for it. And actually, we're going to use this as a raya later on, that the point of, we could say it now, chazara, the point of loisachsim, that you shouldn't put a muzzle in, is the point to give the animal better food, not to avoid pain. And I see food and I'm right there and I want to eat that donut. No, it's about giving the animal good nutrients. Vermini, we have a problem. What's the problem? Here, you know what? And I told Yoshi as a joke. There's a few jokes today. I said maybe you should do something like show how a human being feels. A human being has good food, but you put like non-good food in front of him. So he did something like that. I told him what to do, and here's a waiter with all the puts a little broccoli. You put a broccoli in front of him. You have to serve all the steak. You could eat broccoli. Okay, so that's similar to over here. You're telling the cow you can't eat from down there, but we'll give you something in return. The problem is that we just said in Brisa number 1 that if threshing truma and meiser, you could put a muzzle on. Ein yover. Truma and meiser, there's no problem to put a muzzle. The second Brisa says there is a problem here. That's the first halach we said, that if it's already done, you already soaked it in water and you dried it out in the oven, and now he's coming to do the disha, you're allowed to put a muzzle on. And this is what we're looking for. What does it say on the first line in this Amud? Last words. Einoi oiver. There is no yisr to put a muzzle. And now it says oiver, there is a yisr. Mishum bal tachsim. There's another halacha that if a guy takes the Jewish cow and uses it for disha, even if the Jew tells him, I don't like your food, I want you to use a muzzle and thresh your own food, the guy's food, mutter. Even if the Jew told him to take a muzzle and put it on the Jewish animal, it's not about that. It's about whose threshing is he doing. And in the reverse, if the Jew uses a non-Jewish cow, even if he's doing threshing for the non-Jew, but it's the Jew doing it, but it's a non-Jewish cow, and it's non-Jewish wheat, but the guy leading the cow doing, where do we have that? Here, this. Here. The guy leading the cow is a Jew. So what if the cow is owned by a non-Jew, the wheat is non-Jew? The guy leading the cow should not be putting on a muzzle, he's over on Bal Tachsin. The bottom line is, we have a very simple question. This is the question. Brisa number 1, it says that Truma Meiser, you're allowed to put a muzzle on. Brisa number 2 says Truma Meiser, you're not allowed to put a muzzle on. Kashya, Truma, Kashya, Meiser. So just real quickly, just to give you a heads up on this Amud, we have 4 ways out of it, simple ways. Brisa number 1 is talking about Meiser. I'm not going to get into Brisa number 1. I don't know what it is. One is talking about Meiser. One is talking about you plant Meiser seeds, and out came another plant of Meiser. So once you plant the seed, it gets destroyed in the ground. It basically disintegrates. So it's not really Meiser, and then something grew out of it. Brisa number 1 could be Meiser Rishon, which is the Meiser you give to a Levi. Another Brisa is talking about Meiser Sheni, is the meiser you give to yourself. So it's not the same meiser. It's called meiser. One is rishon, one is sheni. We'll go more into it. Or there's a machlokes. Is meiser sheni something? Meiser sheni, that stuff that you give yourself and you bring up to Yerushalayim to eat. Could you be mekadosh a woman with that? Is it yours 100% or not? And we're going to see that it's actually how do you say yafuch in English? Counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive because you think, oh, it's mum and gavaya. So, but if it's mum and gavaya, you're allowed to put a muzzle on. It's not yours. It's Hashem's. It's Hashem's. So you're allowed to put a muzzle on. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, Meiser Sheni is mum and head, so you're not allowed to put a muzzle on. And then we have another answer, is a Meiser Vadai or Dmai. Okay, those are the four ways to get out of this problem. Again, the Brisa says, the Meiser, you can put a muzzle on. The other Brisa says you can't put a muzzle on. How do we answer this? So the Gemara says, Bishlam Truma, very simple answer. The contradiction in the Truma is not a problem. Kam b'Truma, kam b'Giduli Truma. When it's real Truma, there's no Issa d'Oraisa. So we say, okay, put the traskel, whatever, put it in a basket. But when you have Gidule Truma, you take a seed of Truma, you put it in the ground, it disintegrates in the ground. Now what came out? Like any other fruit. It happens to be that its grandmother was a piece of Truma. Oh, that's only the Rabbanan. That's the Rabbanan, it's not a problem. Elo Meiser or Meiser Kasha. So why can't we answer the same thing on Meiser? One is that you put, one is Meiser itself. Meiser itself, you're allowed to muzzle the animal. Why? It's not yours. It says Dishai. This is not your threshing, it's Hashem's. So you're allowed to put a muzzle. But why didn't you say the one that says that you're not allowed to put a muzzle is because you took the seeds of Meiser and planted in the ground and out came new produce. So the Gemara, no. That I could say that midrabanan, if you put a seed in the ground, even though it disintegrates, Rabbanan or machmar you, they don't want you to do it again. They don't want you to avoid truma. So he said it's truma. But anything that comes out of the meiser seeds, chacham or misaged anything, it's complete chulin. It's nan giduli teva b'giduli meiser sheni chulin. Finished. So I cannot answer this distinction that one is the seeds of meiser. Now, just to I'll give you two types of, you know what, let's do this inside. I know that the Olam are very bucky in this. How many of you know what Trumas Meiser means? Trumas Meiser. Come on, no, Rabbi said, Trumas Meiser. No? Mendy. Trumas Meiser? Okay. Trumas Meiser is the Truma that the Levi takes. Okay, so let's see inside real quickly, yeah? Person has a pile. We got to do this again because we're going through all of them. The Levi gives the portion he gives to the kohen. Truma is what you give to the kohen. So Truma G'dayla is what the Yisroel gives to the kohen here. He has a pile of 100 fruit. The Yisroel will give 2% to the kohen. It could even be 1%. It could be one kernel. Mid'eraisa. Therefore, everybody takes this. Even an Amaritz gives this because it doesn't cost him anything. It's nothing. Okay, that's Truma. Give to the kohen. Next is Meiser. Whatever's left over, you have 89%, you give 10% to the Levi. That's Meiser. What is this called Meiser? Rishon. Because Meiser Sheni goes to yourself. So, not to be confused with Meiser Sheni. Meiser is what you give to the Levi. What could the Levi do with this? This is very important. Now, if we pause over here for a second, I'll give you two scenarios. One is you have wheat that is Meiser Rishon. It's the 10% that you're supposed to give to the Levi. And I have another place that's threshing wheat that I give to myself. I bring up to Yerushalayim. What is considered yours more? The 10% that you give to the Levi or the 10% that you give to yourself? What's less of Hashem's? Huh? What's less Hashem? What do you think? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? 10% that you give to the Levi is yours or Hashem's, or 10% that you give to yourself, you're allowed to buy beer, steak, whatever you want within Yerushalayim. So everybody would say, the one that you give to yourself is yours. The answer is it's the reverse. The one you give to the Levi, 10% you give the Levi could distribute it to anybody he wants, wherever he wants. It could be in New York and he give it to anybody. He could give it to Yisroel. So therefore, it's a lot more his. Meiser Sheni is as much as you could eat it yourself, but it has restrictions. You can't eat it only in Yerushalayim. You can only eat it in Yerushalayim. Some say, Betaro, very good. Some say that you can't even mekadosh a woman with it. So it's a lot more Hashem's. And therefore we're going to make a distinction now between Meiser Rishon and Meiser Sheni. Let's see inside. Again, the trick is it's counterintuitive. When it's not yours, you could put on a muzzle. When it is yours, you cannot put on a muzzle. Oh, Ella, loikasha, habe meiser rishoin. Meiser rishoin is what we see over here. The 10% that the Yisroel gives to the Levi. Habe meiser sheni. We can continue down the line over here. This is Trumas Meiser. This, once the Levi has his 10%, he gives a little bit to the Kayan, not a little bit, 10% to the Kayan. That's called Trumas Meiser, the Truma of the Meiser. And then, of course, we have the famous Meiser Sheni. On years 1, 2, 4, 5, you take 10% of whatever's left over and you give it to yourself and you go to Yerushalayim. We're not going to go into the Pidyon whole thing. So now that we know what Meiser Rishon is and Meiser Sheni is, very simple stuff. On Meiser Rishon, you're not allowed to put a muzzle on. Why? Because it's yours. It's easy. It's like chulin. You can do whatever you want with it. So it's like yours. You're not allowed to put a muzzle on. But Meiser Sheni, it's not so much yours. It has Kedusha, more Kedusha, so you're permitted to put a muzzle on. Another pshat is, no, we're talking about Meiser Sheni. We're being consistent. There's a difference between Rabbi and Yehuda. The Meiser Sheni is really owned by Hashem to the point that you're not allowed to take it and give it to a woman and say, Hared Mekudeshesli. So therefore, if it's Hashem's, you are permitted to put on a muzzle, right? Counterintuitive. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, Meiser Sheni is actually yours. You can do whatever you want with it. So therefore, it'd be usher to put a muzzle on. Now, yeah.
Levi is Hashem Shaliach. Why is it more yours?
Because he can give it to whoever he wants. It's not shliach. What can you do with it now? The question is, how much kedusha does it have? It has very, very little kedusha. You have to give it to the Levi, but he can do whatever he wants. He can give it to his friends. He can give it to Yisrael. He can give it, no tahara. So therefore, it loses kedusha. The less kedusha it has, the more it's considered yours, personal. It's personal stuff. The more kedusha it has, the more restrictions it has. Then it's kaddish. Kaddish, then it doesn't fit into the category of dishay, yours. It's not so much yours. If it's yours, how come you can't be mekadosh a woman with it? It's not yours. You could eat it. You have certain benefits, but that's it. Says Gemara, how does it happen that a cow is threshing truma and meiser? Think about it. Threshing is all the way in the beginning. You harvest the wheat, you put it in on the ground, and the animal tramples on it. And then you have to do winnowing, then you have to pile it, then you have to bring it into your house, and only then you take truma and meiser. How is it possible that he's trampling on truma and meiser? That's already in the truma and meiser is all the way in the beginning. Hey Chidami, says Gemara, it's possible. He jumped the gun and he gave truma and meiser all the way in the beginning of the process. You're right. He shouldn't. He should wait until the end, but he didn't. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, how does a cow even get to thresh this Meiser Sheni and eat it? He's not allowed to eat it. How could the cow eat it? It's outside of Yerushalayim. It seems like that in Yerushalayim proper, there are no cows threshing. That's what it seems here. It says in Mark, in fact, he was in Yerushalayim here. It's within the wall. So there was like some sort of, like today, it's called a remote. I mentioned remote. It's a little bit outside of Yerushalayim. They made it part of Yerushalayim. So listen, the real estate was very expensive in the Ir Hatika, in the old city of Yerushalayim. People wanted to live next to the Beis Hamikdash. There's no room for threshing and cows. So they went a little bit outside into Zar Tasiya, into the industrial zone over there. That's where so okay, it's called Beis Pagi. But they made it part of Yerushalayim. Another shayla. Again, we have a contradiction. Let's go back to remind the oilam. We're talking about the two brises over here. We have one brise that says that you're allowed to muzzle a cow when it's trampling truma and meiser, and the other one says you're not allowed to. Over. Kan b'meiser vaday. When it's 100% meiser sheni, then it's not yours, as we said before. There's no issur to put the muzzle on. Kan b'meiser d'mai. What's d'mai? So here we go to this thing, d'mai. Of course, we have the famous Amaritz. Oh, we'll do this one. He drew this from scratch yesterday. Do I have to say the story about Damai? Damai means, what is this? So Amaretz typically takes Truma, but it doesn't take Meiser. It's too much, 10%. So typically they do take Meiser. I misspoke. Typically Amaretz will take Meiser. Most of them do. Some of them don't. So Chacham were geyser you have to take meiser when you buy produce from an amaritz. Like that meiser we had, the guy that lives right here on this block, he's a kohen, he wrote a whole book about, no, not him, sorry. What's his name that had a baby after 22 years? Chori. It's Chori's brother. Eli, what's his name? I forgot his name. He already has 2 kids, Baruch Hashem. He also didn't have kids for 18 years. He went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, you have to be makin on Trumas and Meisers. He said, Trumas and Meisers, I only buy produce that has Meiser. He looked into it and he found out the guy that he buys from is an Amaretz, etc. And he wasn't separating Trumas and Meisers and etc. Okay, fine. So, Kamen Meiser Dmai. But really, Dmai means that we have to assume that the Amaretz did take, there's a great chance that he did take Meiser, so Mela, it's already private produce. And private produce, you're not allowed to put on a muzzle. Hashados is lachi. Once you say this answer, what? Oh yeah, Neria. Yeah, you're right. Neria. Yeah, that's his name. Hashados is lachi. Truma at truma namiloi kash. I could say the same answer on truma. Kam betrumas vaday. Here I have truma that's 100% chayv in truma. I'm going to say this line, you guys not going to like it. Kan betrumas dmai. We're talking about truma from an amaretz. Does anybody like that line? That's at the end. But right now we're holding Trumas Dmai. We just... Oh, that's what you just said. Right. So we just explained before that there is no... We're not choishish the Amaretz for not taking Trumas. How does Gemara say we're talking about Trumas Dmai? It says Gemara Miyika. Vatanya. Afu bitel savidui. Did I skip something? Oh, Bishlo Ma'ika. That makes a lot of sense when it comes to Meiser, that the Amaretz won't take off Meiser. He wants to save the 10%. El Trumas Dmai Mi'ika, there's no such thing. Vatanya, Afu Bitel Savidui. Here's the video that we say on the 3rd year, 6th year also. Look what it says here. V'gam nisativ lelevi. Problem is, since the Levim, they went to Chutz La'aretz, similar to today, they didn't want to come back. Well, you want to come back, this is war, this, that. They want to come back. Yeah, I know what you're going to say, Menachem. I know, I hear you already murmuring over there. So, right? Say it aloud. Say it. You want to say it? Say it. What? Yeah, anyway. So, I also didn't come back. Okay, I got it. Okay. But I did tshuva. I'm back. So, Ezra made a takana. He said, listen, you Levim, since you don't come back to Yisroel, you're not getting your 10% anymore. From today on, it goes to the kohen. So, how could a guy stand up and in good faith say, Hashem, I promise, I did everything I was supposed to do. I gave my share to the Levi. You didn't give your share to the Levi. You gave it to the kohen. Levi's a kohen. Okay, fine. So he's mevatel this video. V'gozal admai. And he said that when you buy produce from an amaritz, you have to be mafresh your own meiser. He sent every they only used to separate Truma G'dayla. Oh, it says Mefurish. Everybody separate Truma G'dayla. Because why? Truma G'dayla mid'oraisa could be a mashu, or nothing. If you want to be a big tzaddik, 2%. You're a bigger tzaddik, 3%. Elaloi kasha. Kan betrumas meiser vaday. Oh, now we're talking about the truma that the Levi is supposed to give, so that if it's vaday, then it's not yours. You're allowed to put a muzzle on it. In fact, you should put a muzzle on it. Why? Because the animal can't even eat it. It's also for him to eat it. It's the truma. It's for the kohen. It's not meiser. It's trumas meiser. It's truma that belongs to the kohen. Kan the trumas meiser d'mai. And then on the trumas meiser of the suffix. Bo menem Rav Sheshes. Hoyso yechelas truma g'doyla demakbet. Trumas meiser denat. Hoy bo menem Rav Sheshes. Hoyso yechelas matrezes mau. If this animal had a stomach ache, and hold on, if an animal had a stomach ache, I don't know if I should show this picture, but I shouldn't. I'm going to show it anyways. There went the other half a gate that stuck around until now. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to show it. Now we have to understand, why do you give food to an animal? Is it because it's good for her? And in this case, she has a terrible, terrible stomach issue, so the food is not good for her. So you're not over if you don't give her when she has a stomach ache. It's about looking at the food and not being able to eat. Like I have friends that had a few friends here in the neighborhood that did the surgery, the stomach surgery. Whatever, we're not going to mention any names. They're very skinny today. But the problem is when they see a steak, they go crazy. They can't eat it. It's like you could eat a morsel. So maybe that's a problem. It's a problem with Tzar Bal Chai. Is it a problem with Tzar Bal Chai that it sees the food and can't eat? Vaha, in this case, even though she has a stomach ache, Chazim Stara. So maybe you should have to give her food. We could prove it from what we said before. Maybe Karshina B'toyla, you could give her, remember I show you this vetch stuff. According to Rishim B'choy, you give vetch. Why? He says, and you put it on the basket, it's the best. It's the healthiest. It's about being healthy, about giving her something good. Could you tell a non-Jew, take my cow and thresh with it? Thresh your own stuff. Could you tell a guy, I want you, guy, to do what I'm not allowed to do. I'm not allowed to put a muzzle on my cow. I want you to put it on. Oh, so Shvus, don't forget this. Rabbi Isai, where was it? Oh, here. Shvus. Just the word Shvus means, what happened? Oh. Shvus just means Issa D'Oraisa, D'Rabanan. It's usually Amir La'akom Shvus. When you tell a guy to do something for you on Shabbos, it's Shvus. But you can use the same terminology in other Averas. Could you tell a guy to put on a muzzle on your animal? I must say the story, even though I said it many times, but my father told it to me many times. He loved this story about this Satmar Chassid in Williamsburg whose lights were off on Shabbos. And he didn't know what to do, so he goes outside, he waits on the porch, and he sees a Gesundta guy walk by. He says, excuse me, can you come in and help me out? So the guy comes in, he says, yeah. He says, listen, the lights are off. He goes, yeah, I see the lights are off. He says, yeah, but it's Saturday for us, and we're not allowed to turn it on. He goes, wow, I feel bad for you guys. He says, but you're allowed to turn it on. He goes, that's right. She says, here's the switch. I said, I know the switch, you can turn on. He says, so listen, I can't, you could, I need light. The guy goes, wow, it's unbelievable. So finally he gets really frustrated. He says, she's gonna guy this, that. The kid says, mother, turn on the light. So the guy goes, Amir Lakim Shvis. So Amir Nachri Shvus. Hanimili in Shabbos, this is Skilo. Hanimili in Shabbos, this is Skilo. And I'll mention again, Noam knows this woman, my cleaning lady. She told me many times that people come to her on Shabbos, could you please do stuff? And I said, what do they say? She said, turn on my computer. I need to see my emails. We have to make a booklet. I always say this. We have to say, here, this is what you're allowed to tell me. This is what you're not allowed to tell me. People don't know the halachas of Amir Lakim. It's dark in here. Could you turn on the light? They beremet. No, you're not allowed to. If it's for you, you're not allowed to. Anyway, but kids, we'll talk about it a different time. 1 minute. We only look at the clock. Yeah, what? Real quick.
This guy is being dashed in his own goyish field.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's my cow, and I'm telling you to put on the muzzle. Yeah, but it's my cow. Amir Lenoch Shvus. Hanimili Shabbos. This is Skilo. This is Chasima. I would say it's only when it comes to this Shabbos when it's very chomer, you get a death penalty. Av Chasima. This is lav loy. Maybe it doesn't apply to just a simple lav. Simple. Or double loishna, or maybe not. Maybe there's no difference. Tashma. A guy who uses the Jew's cow, he's not over when he does it for himself. He's not over. Maybe there's an issur. Otherwise, you shouldn't say he's not over. Just say it's mutter. So the Gemara, it's not a great raya. But the issur nami leka. No, there's no issur at all. But it has to match and rhyme with the seifa. As we said, all Mishnayos have, because they used to learn about peh, have to make it easy. So the language has to be similar. Since I use the word over in the seifas, I use the word over in the reisha. Even though it's not accurate. Toshma. This is for you, Rabbi from the 5 towns. Toshma. They told Shmuel's father, Holin Torah. Now, you have to know, in those days they used to use the bulls as tractors. As a Jew, you have a very big problem. Your tractor doesn't work very well when it's not neutered. Okay, it starts going right, left. You neuter a dog, it stops barking, it's calmer, it's stronger, it just works better. But a Jew is also midaraisa to neuter its bull. So what happens? The Jew has a few good friends that live next to him, and they do him a big favor. They steal his bull, and they neuter it, and then they give it back to him. They give it back to him. The guy says, "Yishkoyach, how much do I have to pay you for the stealing, giving back?" They do something on the table. We call it also selling chametz. Same idea. Yeah, no. Yeah, 100%. But this doesn't work over here. The gamver armai, they steal it, umeganchim yasain, and they remove they neuter it. Taisa says something, I don't picture it, but what they do is they put a bunch of money on the bull's scrotum, and they wait for a ganav to come, and the ganav doesn't have time to mess around and untie it, just yanks it off and walks away with the money. Okay? So, we already went through that joke. Shalach lu. So he said, Shmuel's father said, you're trying to do trickery here? The Torah doesn't allow trickery. You must sell this bull to somebody else. You cannot have this bull. Omer Av Papa, sponsored by Eric Edelman of Bigger Cup Consulting and Chani and Paul Schuster. Oh, that's it. Only one. Okay. Shkoyach. Says Gemara. Omer Av Papa b'nei Marav v'saver l'kir b'chidka. Maybe in that case is the. Oh, so what do you see over here? That it's shvus. You're telling the guy. You're hinting to the guy. I'm okay with you taking my cow, my bull, and neutering it. So over here also, I'm okay with me. I want you to. Basically, I'm telling you, do this for me. Going to the Arab doctor, Arab veterinarian, and say, hey, listen, hint, you'll buy it for a few hours, for 10 minutes. Does the veterinarian really want your dog? No, he does this 40 times a day. He doesn't need your dog. So that's called the harama. Now this is a bigger problem now if you have a dog. It's also for a guy to do it. And if so, by you selling it to the guy, b'harama, giving it to the guy, having the guy steal it from you, it's also because you're putting a stumbling block in front of a guy. Now, it happens to be, I spoke to this woman. I said, it's Issa Deraisa. She wanted to neuter the dog. I said, it's Issa Deraisa to do so. She tells me, it's pikuach nefesh. The veterinarian said that the dog will die if you don't do it. I said, pikuach nefesh is not on a dog, it's on a human being. So she says, not Maxim, the dog is Jewish. Now you're looking at me and you're saying this. I wouldn't be speaking to a woman about this if it wasn't Yoel's mother. Happens to be Yoel's mother. Yo, is that a true story? She was trying to make an argument to have it. I said, we can't. It's Kivi's dog. It was in our house. The dog didn't stop barking for a second. Then he said, don't worry, all problems solved. We're trying to find the heter. We went to all the Rabbanim. We couldn't find it. If somebody knows of a heter, let me know, please. What? I went to Rabbanim that wouldn't shoot me and wouldn't. I hope she was joking when she said he's Jewish. Whatever. Okay, that part was a joke. The first part of Pikuach Nefesh, she really thought. People think that it's Pikuach Nefesh for the dog. What do you have to save its life? No, that's not Pikuach Nefesh that you do have heirs for. Savarava, lemeimar yimachol l'shchita. Sell for the cheaper price. There's two bulls. A bull that you sell for meat, and a bull that's a good tractor. You cannot make money off your isser. You were over isser and you had the guy neuter it for you. Don't benefit off that and sell for the higher price. Not true. You already gave him enough of a punishment that he has to sell it. Don't punish him more that he has to sell just for meat. Pshita, says the Gemara, you're allowed to sell it to your adult son. Some say it's not just an adult son that doesn't live by you anymore. Are you allowed to sell it to the minor child? Ravachi Asar. What did I skip something?
No, you're good.
You're selling. You must sell a neutered bull. If a guy steals your bull, your best friend guy, your partner at work, he all of a sudden shows up at your house and takes the bull for a few hours and neuters it and gives it back to you. You must sell that bull. Can you sell it to your son? Yes. Could you sell it to your 10-year-old son? Which obviously you're going to take the bull back in 5 minutes. So we have a machlokes. Ravachi Asar, Ravashi Shari. Says the Gemara, Mereimar Umar Zutro. Some say it wasn't Mereimar Umar Zutro, it's two Chasidim. That happened to them, that case, that a guy came in and two goyim took their two bulls independently and were mesaris them. But there's Abu Shmuel said you have to get rid of them. So they switched. You take my bull, I take your bull. Taisa says obviously they didn't know about it. It wasn't done with their consent. Great. It's just a small ha'ara. Think about this. You're not going to like this halacha so much. I didn't like it that much. I don't know how. I hope this is the halacha. I'm just saying it not as a rav. If you have a sukkah, part of it falls down. You have a small sukkah. You could fit two people in there. You and your kid. You have two sons. One is 10 years old and one is 19 years old. Who sits in the sukkah with you? L'chayra, according to this Gemara, you're 10-year-old. Why? Because your 19-year-old, he's not your problem. You could even sell him a bull that's Masuris. He's not yours. Let him go find another sukkah. Halachically. Let him go to the shul, eat in the shul. He has his own chiyuv. But over here, you have a chiyuv to be mechanech your kid. So some of the Paisim say you have to put your little kid in the sukkah. That's a different shiloh. You're right. But does your arvis come before your chiyuv of chinuch?
That would only
on another Jew.
On you. Okay,
that would
I
only
hear.
be if the 19-year-old
That's what I thought. Exactly, that's what I thought. That's why I said you're not going to like it.
It would only be if the 19-year-old has somewhere else to go. If he has somewhere else to go, then if he has nowhere else to go, then he has to be in the sukkah.
So let me ask you about arvis. So you're sitting in your sukkah, and 25 people show up and they need a chiyuv deraisa to the sukkah. So you're going to kick your whole family, all your little kids out, your daughter and everybody. You can kick them in the street. Arvis deraisa. Okay, I'm just telling you what they say. I told you that I personally didn't understand it. That's what I said before. Ravachi Asar, Ravashi Shari. Or you're allowed to sell it. Ravashi said you're allowed to sell it to young kid. Umar Zutra, Merema Umar Zutra. I said this already. What if you put a nail inside the animal's mouth where it can't eat anymore? Is that considered putting a muzzle on? Of course, 100% it's aser. What's the difference? You put a muzzle on the outside or the inside? The thorn went in by itself. Do you have a mitzvah to take it out? How about here, Bitzlo, Ari, here, like this picture, you put a lion, mibachutz, outside, you put the lion there, and now it's scared to eat. Here, Bitzlo, chasim ma'isi, of course it's aser. It's an exterior thing, but the animal, because of you, is not eating. Ella, rabatzlo, Ari, mibachutz ma'u. What if the lion came by itself? Do you have a chiyuv to get rid of the lion? Hamid beno, mibachutz ma'u. What if you take the baby calf and put it outside? Now she's thinking about her baby and she can't eat. The cow's thirsty, so it can't eat. Parsla, what if you put out a sheet over the wheat and she can't eat the wheat? Is that a problem of disha? So that the Gemara says is not a problem. One of these many questions we can answer. Only one. The Sanya. You're allowed to starve your animal so it eats a lot. You are stingy. You don't have a lot of money. You rent out your cow to work by other people's threshing. You know that they're not permitted to put a muzzle on. You starve your cow for 4 days. It goes to somebody else's threshing and it eats all the food that it threshed. Shkoyach, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to take a pile of hay and throw it in front of the animal. On top of all the good stuff, you pile up hay. So the Gemara understands that putting the hay on top is similar to putting a sheet on top. Now, when there's hay, it can move the hay around a little bit and it can get to the bottom, or it could even eat the hay. But over here, you're putting a sheet, it's different. Some say that the pshat is something like this, that you take the hay and you put it right in front of the animal, let it eat a lot of hay before it starts working, and therefore it won't have an appetite to eat the good stuff there. That you're allowed to do. Similarly, we had the halacha, you're allowed to give your employee a lot of wine so he doesn't eat the grapes. Before he starts working, he shouldn't eat a lot of the food. This, everybody would probably say the same thing. What if you put on the muzzle outside of the threshing? Is that mutter? So the Gemara is going to say it's aser, but the Gemara is going to have to come up with a pasuk for it, and it's not understood logically. I would think it's logic. What's the difference? Inside, outside. You know what? What's the Gemara shaila? Shar b'disha rachmana. Inside the threshing place, you're not allowed to put it on. You put it on outside. Like the Torah says you shouldn't thresh with it, and lemaisa you're threshing with it. You can learn it from your own father. You're a kohen. Your great grandfather was Aaron HaKohen, and he said, said to him, you shouldn't drink wine when you go into you shouldn't be drunk when you go into the Beis Hamikdash. So it says bivayachem when you come in. Bivayachem with aser hamishtam umayel shari. What if you're already drunk beforehand and you walk into the Beis Hamikdash? But that can't be. Why? We'll have the ben hakodesh ben achol. You can't be drunk to the point that you don't know the difference between Haman and Mordechai. You can't be drunk where you don't know the difference between kodesh and mundane. Elamahos, so I can learn from there. Bishas bialote shichros. When you walk into the Beis Hamikdash, you shouldn't be drunk. So the same lashon by us. Chanami bishas disha leitei chasima. So when you come and you thresh, you shouldn't have a muzzle on the animal even from beforehand. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.